I guess what you say. I still want to know discussion. Is it that sense? All right, folks, thank you for your patience. It's 7:32. We'll call this meeting to order. If you'll please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hawk,
Here.
trustee Connelly,
Here.
trustee Diatley,
Here.
trustee Stratsberger, here, trustee Thomas,
Here.
trustee McGuire.
Thank you. Trustee McGuire did call in. She will not be on Zoom. All right, minutes. Can I have a motion for the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from Monday, March 2nd, please?
So moved, Diatley. Second.
Moved by Diatley, and I'm sorry, which one is that?
That would
Connelly?
be me.
Thank you. Trustee Connelly. Any comments, questions, or edits? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All in favor, no opposition, motion passed. Thank you. President report. Just haven't gotten good with the whole rotation thing, so I'm gonna read it again, folks. Civility pledge. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful of others, acknowledging that we're all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. All right, President's report. I have a sheet here with a lot of little items on it. First off, when I became the water and sewer trustee about 2.5 years ago, President Pickett asked me if I would be willing to be on the Kane County Stormwater Management Planning Commission or Committee. I said I'd be happy to, and we just had our first meeting last week. So, as we all know, water moves slowly despite the fact that it's constantly on flow. And so the first meeting was in 3 years, and it was actually pretty remarkable. There's a lot of things that I've learned over the years between water and sewage trustee here, as well as the environmental component of it and how they all interact. So I'm looking forward to having more meetings on that and learning more about what they're doing for the municipalities around here and how we can all coordinate together and work with those downstream of us.
Can I ask you a question? Is
Sure.
our water and sewer trustee gonna start joining you at those meetings?
I cannot answer you that at this time. Thank you. So after the stormwater management meeting, we had the, actually, no, she will not be, because that was a position that Pickett was delegating to me as his role as village president through the Metro West COG. And I'm taking it on as the president of the village now, because I've been wanting to since before, so. Sorry, it's not a position for two individuals to go to. We had a meeting with Metro Net, last Wednesday, yes, and that'll be a monthly meeting. We met with not only their regional construction manager, Tim, but then the Shanna, who's their municipal outreach or community outreach. And then there's a gentleman named Mike, who I'm not sure his direct title. There's about 4 different facets. And what was nice is we got some clarity. Director of Public Works, Kyle, was able to ask some questions about the construction, some clarity from that standpoint. We touched base with them now that we're moving over into the west side of the village. They handled a lot of the east side before, which had sewage lines. Now on the west side, we have a lot more septic fields. They've encountered it a couple times on the east, but indicating that our septic fields tend to go very close up to the easement. So they just need to be very mindful of the paths that they take in the backyards. They also indicated that they do have, it's an app or a website, which I'm sorry we're getting it now, but it's called the Construction Hub, where if something's going on in your yard, you can cite it, and they usually have a response time. I think he said 24 hours, maybe it was 48, but so I think that will be very helpful as we move into this third phase of that construction. We received a letter from, it was quote unquote Sleepy Hollow neighbors last week, asking that we consider an ordinance with respect to Christmas light displays. And it was very interesting timing. I happened to be up on Randall Road by Woodman's at that time. And I don't know if you know this, but right at that intersection onto Randall, there's a village sign from Carpentersville. I had just taken that picture, and then that evening I got this letter where it's the Village of Cardinalsville reminding you that Christmas lights or holiday lights are only allowed up for 60 days and please bring them down. We don't have any such thing here, but it may be something that could be considered, especially while we're doing, now that we've gotten a lot of that code revision that they've been working on for the past few years, this may be something that could be incorporated or considered into that. So I will give the letter to Clerk Reese so that she can scan it and send it to you guys as well. We had a meeting, let's see, MetroNet, Stormwater, Christmas. I also had a meeting with Metro West that coincided with the finance meeting. Unfortunately, those are always on the same day within a couple hours of each other, and finance is taking on many, many hours, so I have to leave early for that one. I would like to bring to the board's attention that there was continued discussion with respect to the governor's decision to reduce the LGDF, which is the Local Government Distribution Fund. That's based on it's called the heads. So every individual, every human in this community, there's a percentage that we receive from various state taxes. It used to be about 10% of those taxes went to the municipalities. It has since decreased and decreased again. That's a hit that we certainly will face here in the community. And on top of it, there's something called the Build Act, which you may have heard on the news. There's a lot of discussion, especially with the COGS, which is the Council of Government or the mayors, about this taking away a lot of municipal control and jurisdiction over their zoning codes. My understanding at this point, and I have not delved too much into it, is that it's an effort to bring forth affordable housing and greater density housing. I don't know how that will play out necessarily within our municipality because we have a very limited development here, but anytime the state is trying to consider the role of the local government, we want to make sure that we have our rights to stand up for items that we want in this village. So I will keep you apprised of that. And the Metro West COG is very much against the state controls, so they're consistently lobbying against it. But if you hear anything or have any questions, please reach out so that I can raise it with the lobbyists and our legislators. Which brings me to the next thing. Next week, I will be out of the village actually for 3 days, the 23rd through the 23rd, Tuesday through the Thursday. I'll be down in Springfield for the Metro West, it's called Drive Down, and that's where we meet with legislators. So if there's anything that you'd like me to bring to their attention or ask questions about House bills, what have you, Senate's out of session, but I think House will be there is what they're saying. Let me know. And there's certainly, we have direct conduit to talk to them and ask any questions. And also it'd be nice to be able to talk to other municipality leaders to see if they've dealt with similar issues that maybe they have other solutions for. So please send those my way. Actually, segue right from there. Representative Ness has sent out a letter that she will be having a virtual town hall on March 31st from 6 until 7. I will also have that sent to Jen so that can be posted on the website as well as Facebook. Let me highlight that one, not the Christmas letter. Sorry, there's just a few more here. I'd like to extend an apology or gratitude and an apology to Damos, Maggie and Dan Orlando for their participation in the meeting the last time. I very much appreciate the board and all of our questions and the passion and dedication we have to learning about topics. I would caution us that we are a public forum and we are recorded, and these words we say have meaning. Sales tax, individual compliance with rules and village ordinances, those should go through administration, those should go through Eugene. There are certain things that cannot be answered, such as we learned right then about the sales tax. That's not information that's publicly disclosed due to competition and conflict of interest components. Whether somebody's in compliance, my understanding is that's something we need to bring before code enforcement or again with administration who's issuing permits. We don't discuss individual residents, and we don't really discuss the performance of individual businesses in the meetings until if you have a question, let's discuss it before, and then if we can bring it up in the meetings, we can let you know. But I think we treaded on a difficult line of what's private, what's public. So I would just caution us when we're discussing other people who have. I'll just take some.
So I'm responsible for the sales because I wasn't aware that that's something that's confidential, and so I apologize to them for that. But if it's on an agenda, it kind of seems like that's the time when we would discuss it, so.
We were discussing the ordinance, not necessarily their business practices. And that is where I think the distinction is. They were here to give us some feedbacks as individuals who've experienced our ordinance and have specific experience within being mobile food vendors or food vendors, we'll say. But when it comes to, I mean, if we're dealing with a late water bill, we don't disclose the identity of the individual. We discuss the parameters and the circumstances, but same thing, if there's a question with respect to a business, there aren't many businesses, but we should still keep some. I would like to have some degree of discretion if it becomes a very public village matter, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong later on, but sales tax and whether or not they're meeting certain compliance codes, let's run that through administration and find it out before we air it or ask the questions here, where maybe sometimes if we don't know, it still reflects badly on them when it may not be any fault of their own.
So one more question
Please,
regarding that.
It was a
Should
different topic.
should the process then be, they go through planning and zoning? And that get those issues worked out before it comes to the board?
Well, they're not so much zoning, it goes through administration, so if it's you're maybe ask me the question more directly. I don't know which
Well-
issues, the ones that,
Well, some of the issues that were brought up. Would they be better placed during the planning and zoning? Does the business require planning and zoning?
Yes.
the questions that were asked last week need to go through the administrator who issues the permits. If they're in compliance with the permits or with the codes and the licenses that they require, they're in compliance.
So they don't need to go through planning and zoning?
I don't, no zoning is being changed. Planning and zoning doesn't oversee the permits, so I'm not sure what would go through planning and
But
zoning.
if they, I guess I have a question then too, which relates to this, if they are not in compliance. Then. It should go through planning and zoning.
It should be brought to the administrator so that the license can be revoked.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but like, that's, yeah,
fine,
that's one of the, I
fine.
think the criteria, correct me if I'm wrong, Eugene, I think there's a part in there where the village can revoke or rescind the permit due to non-compliance.
You know, in this part, if there's an allegation that they're not paying their sales tax or whatever, then that needs to go to the Department of Revenue. That's not us.
Right. But I guess my question is that other things that, you know. That has to do with. That business.
Yeah.
That's where I'm confused is what,
You bring it to Eugene and then he checks out if everything's on board, and if it's not, then we remove the
It would-
license or the permit.
It would go to code enforcement to verify that, you know, the condition exists, and then we can pull the license.
But I guess what I'm trying to convey is that's an administrative process where there's a process in place. If there's a complaint, if something's not in compliance, we don't oversee those, we don't adjudicate those. We have an administrator, we have code enforcement. Yeah. At the list, Demos. Out of office. And lastly, tonight on the agenda, there is the proposed ancillary fee schedule as well as budget. I know there's some questions earlier. Because it was listed under the village administrator report and there's nothing pertaining to a discussion motion. I'm sorry, that was the fastest way I could get it out with all the things that were going on today. That was implying that there is no motion on it tonight. It is just being addressed. It's being broached. You'll get it for the first time. We're not taking any final action on it. So, and that was by design. In fact, Eugene and I talked about it recently. We have an extra, as I call them, bi-week this week. This month we have a fifth week. So we'll have an extra week between meetings. That'll give you ample time to kind of review the budget. And what I'd like to encourage you guys is there's a lot in there. This is our first appropriations for this administration. So take a look at it. If there are questions, anything you don't understand, please make some time to come in, talk to Eugene, get some answers, and then repeat those questions here at the board for anybody else who may not have had them. But I would really love for you guys to delve into it and let's figure some things out. The finance committee was about 4.5 hours on last Thursday, so there's plenty to discuss. And that's all for president's report. I'm pretty sure unless I come up with something later. Clerk report, please.
I just want to thank trustee Canali for getting in his bio and photo and reminding the rest of the board and staff to get that into me so we can start featuring everybody throughout the next couple months on Facebook.
Can you have ours from previous when we had to turn them in the last time?
I do not.
They're on, it'd be on the website, but. It's what I got, I posted on the website.
So can you just use mine for previous website?
When I went on there, there was not one, but I could double check.
Mine are available for purchase.
Autographs
I
extra.
was gonna say, how much for the signature? All right, we do not have a building official yet, but we're getting closer. Attorney Schuster is not, oh, there's Kelly's. That hair.
You just have to look at my.
Oh.
Must
Your
have
famous.
been the only one that had.
Attorney Schuster is not here. Engineer report, Jeff Steele is not here. Village administrator report.
Request a motion to approve the accounts payables in the amount of $194,713.92.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Kennelly, seconded by Hawk. Comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Oh, no, roll call, please.
Trustee Diatley,
Aye.
trustee Thomas.
Aye.
Trustee Schatzberger.
Aye.
Trustee Hoff.
Aye.
Trustee Canali.
All in favor, no opposed, motion passes. Thank you.
I'll talk about the next two items, B and C, at the same time. Again, this is not for, action today. This is for you guys to start looking at it, so to put it on record. I am not married to any figure on these sheets for, the budget. The green column, is my worst case scenario. It is the most conservative of the income figures and the most liberal of the expenses. The column to the right of that would be my best case, again, based on the fiscal year 26 projections and what I know is going to be happening. As for a lot of the individual items, you have to talk to the chief and to Kyle, because that's where they come from. You know, I'm responsible for the administration section, the insurance type stuff, the computer type stuff that gets divvied up. But everything else comes from the other two gentlemen. Ask your questions. You know, it's like, this is something that we can work with, and this is just the starting point.
And at this point, if I can see, I checked with Eugene, we have the salary increase included in here. There's additional ADA projects for the park in there, so check with those numbers, and the water main project is in there.
Yep.
So with that in mind. Yep.
You know,
So,
the figures do not look good, you know, I'm not comfortable with that, but I'm not frightened by it either. You know, it's something that, I think in the long run will be okay. That's it.
right,
Oh, you know, there's been a lot of chatter on like the websites and stuff like that about getting grants for the water main. The reality of the situation is I was just reading an article today. There's $9 billion worth of lead pipe out there that needs to be replaced. So basically, any grant is going towards lead pipe replacement, and municipalities are not gonna see any money until the lead pipe problem is taken care of. In the past, Illinois would give grants and then they would forgive the grants. They're not even forgiving the grants anymore because of all the money that they need to do the lead pipe replacements.
What do you mean by forgive them?
So what would happen is that you would go and ask for an IEPA loan.
Okay,
They'd give you the loan. And then a couple of years down the road, they would say, you know what? You've been good, you've been making your payments, we're gonna forgive the rest. And, you know, a lot of communities benefited from that, but since the start of this whole thing with the lead pipes, they've been notifying the communities that have current IEPA loans that they're not looking at any forgiveness. because they don't have enough funds to go around.
And that's, this did include IMRF as well.
Hmm?
This included IO.
So the worst case scenario includes IRMF. The best case scenario does not include IRMF.
All right. Comments from the public? John Florence, please.
Small footnote, we are streaming now,
Oh, good, Rebecca, thank you.
so, and I'll replace the recording, the stream with the recording later. So they can get, everyone can hear the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
I'm here really to talk on behalf of the Service Club real quick. We've got a bunch of events coming up in the next 3 months. And they're gonna be tighter than I realized until I wrote them down. Is I think, many of you are aware, we have the gala coming up on April 18th. That's a Saturday, start at 6 o'clock. We didn't do one last year. We've kind of settled into maybe doing it every other year. This one will be a little less formal than last year. We dropped the price a little bit in doing that, but we're hoping a lot of people will come out. We've already had one resident, like a table of 10. So we have, I think technically 12 people signed up, and we just opened it up a few days ago. So if you have any questions, we'll post it all over Facebook and see if we can get it on the newsletter and various channels. We also have Market and Hollow coming up. Are you gonna talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, we have 4 dates on that. Again, that's posted, it'll be posted all over Facebook. It already is. And then, those are somewhat in conjunction with the 2 markets that we will do Halloween and 4th of July. We have Pine Car Derby. For those who are unfamiliar with this, think of Pinewood Derby with beer. So
Is that the slogan?
And no staff.
it's kind of the, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's to raise money for the events that the Service Club puts on. It's held at the VFW Hall in West Dundee. We start about 5:30. I mentioned beer, but the central theme is really adults showing up, many of them retirees, with the cars they made with their dads back in the 60s and 50s. So it's a cool event. It's not just about the beer.
I'll steal my brother's from back in the day.
There you go. I'm gonna probably bring my sons from 20 years ago. So it's a lot of fun. It's really fast paced. They've improved the track a little bit. And it's a VFW hall, so it's kind of a low impact event to raise money.
What's the date on that one?
April 25th. That's at 5:30. And as a bonus, on April 25th, we're also doing road cleanup. I believe we are in conjunction with Mr. Hoff's efforts. He'll talk about his. Same thing as every year. We'll meet here at 9 o'clock from the village hall to take the obligatory picture, and then split up and go to our respective areas. And then, just as a general reminder, we have fireworks on July 2nd. Not on the 5th, not on the 6th. We get floated those dates earlier or at the end of 2025. But we're signing the contract for July 2nd. Mostly because the 4th, 5th, those dates right there over the weekend, because the 4th is on a Saturday. We're not in that league. Those are all going to bigger communities like Elgin, Hoffman Estates, Lake Geneva. This is the closest date we can get to the 4th for our scale. And that's it for the Service Club. Oh, we're always looking for volunteers to come out. I had someone canvassing to vote yesterday come to my house. Stood there in the rain talking to this very nice lady about her son's candidacy. And then found out that his brother bought a house on Joy Lane. So then I flipped it around and I lobbied her to get him in. So that's how we work. And then on a personal note, I haven't been to, I've had to leave for a couple of the last meetings, but I want to keep pushing on the water well. Now I understand we've got to take care of the mains first, but I've just sunk a whole bunch of money into getting my will to limp along for a while. I didn't, it's not a permanent fix what I did. I bought myself 5 to 10 years. But this eventually needs to be addressed, because it'll eventually affect our, the value of our homes. And I personally have watched the house burn down because there was no fire hydrant in the vicinity. Takes a long time to bring a swimming pool from Pingree Grove if your house is on fire. So a lot of factors in play there. And then nobody's really mentioned in a while, Lake Sharon. So I just did. So I don't want to take that off the table. I don't know what we need to do there, but I think we need to keep talking about that, or it'll just fill up and smell really bad. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
One second, folks.
John, is there an Easter egg thing too?
Yeah.
Yeah, when's that?
April 4th. We set up at 10 o'clock. The event is at noon. And it'll be in Sabatino Park, east or west field, depending on the weather, condition of the field.
So we have April 4th for the Sabatino Easter egg hunt, April 18th for the gala at Moretti's, and then April 25th is the Earth Day cleanup and the Pinewood with beer.
Correct.
And you said that starts at noon? The Easter egg hunt?
Yes. Unless you want to help set up and then 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Just tell everybody 10 o'clock, and then when they show up, they're like, good, you're volunteering. All right, thank you. John Court, please. John, not Jim. Sorry, last time.
I'll stand over here. Madam President and members of the board. I can't believe I'm here again. I was here 2 weeks ago. I even took all of my comments and put them in writing and gave them to you in hopes, just in hopes that someone would respond. And I've received no response. And I know Kelly was out and with family matters, so I'm sure she said that she would contact me, so hopefully that will happen. But I came here to talk about, I tried for more than 3 years with the previous administration to address the issue across the street at Verlo that remains a residential, it has a residential, what do you call it? Zoning, when there must be at least maybe 5, maybe more, maybe 8 businesses that operate out of that area. And yet, for more than 3 years, I've tried to address that so that we could get everything in compliance with a commercial zoning location. And as I said last week, I came, I talked to you, I gave you the information, and I received nothing. But if you were to be a part of a town hall meeting, you get a response right away. But if you come and you do it here, and I came here because I wanted to be a part of the record, we've seen no response. So I'm hoping that somewhere down the road, we won't continue to kick the can down the road on that particular issue, especially with what all of you know is happening with new home developments that are coming from Randall, coming all the way back. Something's got to happen, and I would really appreciate a response. And I don't think that's too much to ask as a resident of this community. The second issue that I'd like to address is that as I sat in the meeting and watched Eugene have to kind of plead to members of the board regarding his employment and insurance and so forth. And it took me back to the years that I was on school boards and presidents of boards, that issues such as conditions of employment should have been in an executive session. It should not have been discussed out in the open. It wasn't fair to Eugene. And I think, having sat here, that members of the board didn't even know that issue before it became a board. And Eugene, that I just want you to know that was troublesome for me to see that you would have to plead in a public session conditions of employment. And that should not happen. It should not happen. That's pretty much it. The last point is that I've come to understand, I've missed a lot of meetings in the past for health reasons and so forth. But it seems like in town hall meetings that you have, you respond to the people sitting in the audience. When you go to a board meeting, it's supposed to be a board meeting. It's supposed to be a meeting of the board with the president of the board and with the attorney. But I find here that even your board meetings becomes an interaction with the public. And you have a spot where the public has 30 minutes to say what they have to say. But there should not be interaction between trustees and board members. When it's a board meeting, people should. Anyway, I know that's the case. It's not supposed to be a give and take. It turns out to be that your town hall meeting and your board meeting are run the same way. And that should not be. You should respect the sanctity of the board and those kind of questions. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Josh.
Satar.
Satar, thank you.
I came to the meeting a couple weeks ago and I heard comments about golf carts in the village. And I just wanted to go on record voicing opposition to golf carts on record. Because I'm not sure, so far as I know, there's no golf course in Sleepy Hollow. And if it is a golf cart that's gonna be on the road, I don't know what the rules would be, who's driving it. If it's gonna end up being kids, if it's just for fun, if people are gonna be drinking and then driving, and I would imagine that would still be illegal to operate that.
It is still illegal.
So, I don't know if that would just be, if it would be strictly golf carts or side by sides, and when everybody that was speaking up at the last meeting about traffic and other concerns with scooters or e-bikes or other things, I think that would just add another variable that we don't need. So I just want to get that on the record. And then one other thing I wanted to comment on, with all the fiber construction going on, there's been a lot of discussion about burying the fiber. And as far as that goes, if people have fiber laying in their yard, when they come back to bury it, they're just gonna knife it in. More than likely, it'll probably be 4 to 6 inches down. It won't be 18 inches down. There were comments about the NEC. NFPA 70 does not address utilities. So that stuff would be outside the scope. And with that, just the board doesn't get in trouble if people are speaking out of turn, thinking that things are gonna get buried a couple feet down. I can almost guarantee that no utility is gonna bury that stuff a couple feet down. So I just think that's an important distinction to have on record, so that people aren't coming back to you guys saying that, hey, they did this wrong. When
You said the letters NFPA 70?
yeah, that's the National Electrical Code.
And then NAC?
I'm
just making sure I heard the letters
Yeah,
correctly.
NEC, people refer to
NEC,
National
like
Electrical
that.
Code. It's National Fire Protection Association. Their standard 70 is the National Electrical Code.
Was there more?
No, that was it.
Thank you, Josh. Brian Pirtle?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to follow up, kind of same thing. The town hall, the back and forth, so I don't need anything today, but I know we talked about the committees. You wanted to talk to P and Z and the guy in P and Z. I've inquired a couple of times via email. I just haven't gotten a response, so I was just looking for an update. So whether you or Kelly or if anybody else is working on it, if you can just keep me updated via email, so I just kind of know what to look for on agendas and stuff. Kind of where I'm at with it, so that's it.
Thank you, Brian. Debbie Vernon.
Hi, my name is Debbie Vernon. We live at 821 Locust Drive, Sleepy Hollow, and we have been homeowners and residents for the last 23 years. My public comments today are a little bit different. There's two things that happened yesterday that I feel represented by our community spirit here in Sleepy Hollow. I don't know if anybody else is watching Facebooks, but I got invested in the two dogs that were lost in our community. There's two German Shepherds. It started around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, and it went all the way through 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. I saw several neighbors up the street from me had posted, and then I asked Pete to drive around in the car. We drove around for 20 minutes and we were looking for those dogs. And I'm sure other people were during the day. They went anywhere from Pine Cone Estates to by Casey's gas station. The dispatcher told me that when I called in at 10:30. Thoroughbred, they were all over the place. And so the end of the story was that I think 2 residents found them. One found them one earlier. There was a brown kind of normal German Shepherd and then a black one. And then somebody else found them, another neighbor living in Sleepy Hollow around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. She posted it and I don't know why I got invested because I'm an animal owner, but it just made me think that, and the police were very helpful. I had seen that Sleepy Hollow Police, West Dundee Police, Kane County Animal Control, I had to write them down, the Kane County Sheriff, and maybe one other jurisdiction, you know, so the dogs got back to the owner. I don't know where they live. I think possibly it was outside Sleepy Hollow, but very close. They were by Casey's gas station. So the end result is that, you know, our small town community, we communicated and worked together for the common cause. And that's one reason why I personally like Sleepy Hollow. So I'm glad that they were returned to their owner. I'll listen to that. And then the other thing is Pete and I went to the Pine Cone Derby and it was fun, John. It was fun. It's the first time we went, you know, no kids. And I would just encourage people to go. You can eat, mix with people, and it's for a good cause. It's for the right, Kelly, with the Sleepy Hollow fireworks and stuff. So it was just really fun. You know, I really liked it. I just wanted to share that. And my last item, I was up late last night because I was worrying about the dogs. And I heard 2 snowplows come by our house, Mr. Killinger, you know, one at 11, one at noon, you know, and they were all over the town, which it's always, you guys always do a really, really great job. When I got up in the morning, the streets were black, right? You know, that says what as homeowners. So I just wanted to just say that you guys do a terrific job and I appreciate your hard work. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, that's the end of public comments. Did you need to? All right, trustee reports, roads, parks and streets, trustee Canelli, please.
Yes, so, you had mentioned MetroNet, but I don't know if you had a chance to find out about the pothole repairs and how things get fixed or if anything came up.
I'm sorry, I have not yet, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name, well, we had a resident, excuse me, that let me know about some damage on the Carroll Crest, the court. Spoke with our public works director and we think that it's most likely a problem with garbage trucks on that cul-de-sac, but it is set to be repaired as soon as the weather allows them to get out there and do that. Regarding parks, we're looking at I just started looking at long term. Should we be thinking about the Saddle Club Park? And a few years ago, CM Parker did a survey and he provided me with those survey results. And I've kind of just been looking through those and might want to put together in the near future a parks committee so that we can have people that know about parks and smarter than I to help put something together there longer term. The Sabatino ball field came up. I don't know that it gets a lot of play other than practice, but in order to put that back to baseball field status, it would be a very expensive project. We have a proposal for about $18,000 to make that baseball dirt. They put together an extremely detailed report on the current condition and the percentages of sand, percentages of gravel, blah, blah, blah. So I think that if we just kind of do it ourselves for the amount of use that it gets, maybe drag the infield or perhaps plant some grass seed is probably a better option at this point. I did communicate back to West Dundee regarding their proposal, so I provided them with a counter proposal on the March 9th, and I am awaiting a response. I'll give it a couple more days and then I will follow up.
West Dundee, that's with the bike path on.
Correct.
Okay.
And that is it.
I'm sorry, and what was that date you said you reached out on?
3/9.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Trustee Hoff, finance?
All right, I have to ask, do I officially need to have an agenda item for the Earth Day cleanup on April 23rd?
No, you've been organizing that on your own for a couple of years now. I don't think we voted on a date. It's just you announced when it was gonna happen.
Well,
You're a
in the past,
resident
we've always had it
initiative.
as an item.
Oh, it has.
It was voted on, so nobody had an issue with it, so.
We can add it to the first April meeting.
April 6th,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay.
That'd be great. And then, second is, I would like to also make a motion at this point to add an agenda item for the April 6th
We
meeting.
can't make any
No,
motions.
I understand,
You just have to-
but I can make a motion to add an agenda item for April 6th.
We can't make any final, we can't do any,
I agree, it's gotta be decided on April 6th.
we can't vote on anything on the board that hasn't been on the agenda tonight.
I'm asking for an item to be placed on the agenda for April 6th.
Okay, if you want to ask to put something on, fine, but I'm sorry, I heard you wanted to make a motion to put something on.
Well, I felt I needed to have a motion approved by these people to have it added as an agenda. item.
Right, procedurally, we can't have a motion that hasn't been on the agenda.
All right, you're telling me I can have this as an agenda item?
You can ask.
I'm sorry, I have to ask a question. How can he ask? If we ask for something to be put on the agenda, it should be added to
Put
the
it on the
agenda.
agenda,
Yes, when it is ready to go on the agenda, it goes on the agenda.
but it keeps being left, things keep being left off the
They
agenda.
don't get left off. The projects have not been completed until to the point that they're ready to go on the agenda. Also,
And who
this,
decides that?
well, it's going to legal, it's going to admin, it's going to public works, and then we can bring it before the board.
Well, something that's approved by the finance committee should in January, I believe, it was approved by the finance committee, should have been on the next meeting. It was not. It was approved this last meeting by the finance committee, and it's not on the agenda to vote for now. So how do we get it on the agenda is what we're asking for the April meeting.
It's going through it's going to Mark, it's going to Eugene, and I'm sending it to Kyle and Jeff to see if it's ready to go on for April. This
This
happened,
is just for getting, is my understanding, a decision to raise. And Bill, stop me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure I understand. It's getting to raise the fee
yes,
on the water bill
yes.
that has been approved for finance. It does not have to have anything to do, it's just how to pay for it. It has nothing to do with what Kyle is instructing. It has nothing to do with Jeff Steele. It's how we as a village, we as a board can pay for it. Nothing else. And that's what you have a committee for. You have the finance committee. You have, I think Barry Sanders is here. He is very intelligent. Bill Hoff is in charge of the finance committee. The rest of the people on that finance committee, they know what. There's a reason they're on that committee, I guess is my feeling. I've sat in those meetings and they are there to make the right decision for the village. So that's what I think we're trying to find out. How do we get that? It keeps being left off for whatever reason. I want to know.
It keeps getting left off for whatever reason. It was voted on in January. I asked some follow-up questions that I wanted addressed. The February meeting got canceled. When I spoke to trustee Hoff prior to the finance committee meeting for March, that was not agreed upon. It was still brought up and the schedule changed. Now with the new proposal, I want to run it through legal administration, and somebody brought to my attention another Hillcrest project. So I want to see if there's anything that needs to be addressed with engineering and public works. I'm not just delaying this for the sake of delaying it.
Yes.
But engineering has
Okay, you're
nothing,
entitled to your opinion, Jen.
engineering has nothing to do with how we're going to
Pay
pay
for
for
it.
this.
Correct.
That's what it is. We should be collecting this money as soon as possible to get as much money in the coffers as we can to pay for it. This has nothing to say that the engineering isn't going to be checked. Of
Right.
course, that's going to be checked.
That's
And
not
the material is
No,
going to be
it's,
checked.
it has nothing to do with the materials of it. It's to see, another project was brought to my attention just yesterday that pertained to Hillcrest, to the same area. And I need to check in with engineering from years ago, another thing that's got kicked down the road. Want to see if that can be incorporated in, so we're not putting Hillcrest through a third construction project. Earlier in May, we asked MetroNet when we had the meeting about the construction. I asked, well, if we're gonna be doing water mains, should we be doing it at the same time? But water mains was so far down the road at that point, we thought it was about 5 years. Well, lo and behold, now that we're working on Hillcrest Water Main and we are going to be breaking ground on the water main project this year. I don't want to put everybody through a third construction on Hillcrest.
I'm sorry, but I'm missing something because it sounds like we're talking about how do we finance this? And the sooner we start collecting the additional funds, we're in a better shape than if we are delayed.
we
So
have
the
to.
agenda is just, that we change the rules so that we can increase the demand for fee or infrastructure. I don't think it has a thing to do with,
No, it doesn't.
projects, construction, new ideas. This is how do we put this increase in place sooner than later?
I don't know how to explain it more clearly. There are more questions that need to be answered before this comes to the board for a vote. It'll be on when it's ready to go through.
I think the votes are there now.
Yes.
And let me just summarize. When I came to this board, and even prior to that, on the finance committee, we identified a problem that was costing this village quite a bit of money. We did the analysis, we spent the time, we conferred with experts in this area. We realized, we plotted where all the breaks were, they're on Hillcrest and Winmore. So we've identified the problem, did the analysis, created a timeline, worked with Jeff Steele, our engineering firm. And now it's a matter of making the decision to collect the money to pay for it.
Correct.
I think everybody in this room agrees we need to do something with our water infrastructure.
Yes.
Yes.
It's on borrowed time.
Yes.
And I've asked to have this on the agenda. I've been turned down. I'm asking the board right now if everyone feels that this needs to be on the agenda for April 6th, so we can start collecting the $50 and get ahead in our reserves to pay for a very sizable project.
Yes.
Yes.
Most definitely.
It's nothing more than that. Every month we delay, we're gonna push out projects that wasn't the plan, that wasn't the design.
I think you've gotten your consensus. Is there anything more?
Well,
Are you telling me are we gonna have it on the agenda on April 6th?
because
Are you gonna veto what the board wants to do?
I have not vetoed anything.
Well, you haven't put it on. You haven't agreed to put it on.
I don't know how to be more clear, Bill. I'm going to take this to Mark Schuster. I'm gonna bring this to Eugene and I'm gonna go speak to Kyle and Jeff.
but they have,
I hear the consensus of the board.
No need to do. It's already been done.
I appreciate that that's your opinion.
it's not his opinion. It's
Board member.
It's your board's opinion. It is your entire board's opinion.
I hear your consensus. There are a few more questions to answer. Once those are clarified, we can proceed.
Please tell me what they are.
What are the questions?
I wanted,
I asked it first, sorry.
stop, Deb.
What are the questions?
Yeah,
Because
we
we
can
don't even
discuss it.
know. It's like I've sat in these.
Maybe I could answer for him right now.
Well, I've sat in the finance meetings. I have listened to everything. You have been in there. Then you've had to leave. I understand you have to other meetings to go to. To me, this finance meeting is very important. Eugene has been in the meeting. If you've got
The reason
questions-
Eugene and I get to leave is because Eugene and I both go to the Metro West meetings. He stays, I go to the Metro
I
West, and then I
understand,
get to,
but he's been in the
and then I
finance
listen to the
meeting.
readings.
And so what questions could he answer since he's been in these meetings, or could Bill answer? Because it's been explained, we're only looking for finance and it keeps being pushed off. If you have questions regarding, it should have been on the next board meeting after January. It should have been on tonight's board meeting and it's not. So it is being pushed off and I'm just curious as to why. If you have questions regarding the engineering piece of it or anything else like that, but this is strictly with the finance. This has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with the engineering, nothing to do with the materials. Like when Bill explained about the
We've set the
materials.
timeline.
Right,
And it's
but what
gonna,
I'm
it's
saying
gonna
is
back that whole process up
you asked,
and maybe take a year out of it.
I understand, but what I'm saying is you asked you asked, you, Courtney, asked about the materials. Bill explained all those materials. Finally, he had to bring to the meeting samples of the materials. Well, he had done all that investigation already. You, during a meeting, stated you need to investigate what about all these materials, even though he explained it all and has explained it all continually. You still keep coming up with these questions that have been answered. So those questions, to me, sitting here as a board member, have nothing to do with the financing of it. That should be on the agenda so that we can get moving on this and start collecting this money and get ahead of the program so we have it. And he's explained it very well. And I'm sorry if I sound frustrated or hostile, as you've called me a couple times, but I am very upset about this because it keeps being left off. It should not, this piece of it should be left off. If you want to investigate the other stuff, Bill is very capable of explaining everything, and he has during the town hall, during the board meetings, during the finance meetings. The questions have been asked, like I said, Barry Sanders brought up some good questions. Eugene even brought up some questions. The other people on that finance committee brought up questions. And it answered some of the questions I had. And I think that that should be, they've answered everything. I agree. And it's my understanding that if it's brought to ask to be put on the agenda for the next meeting, we need to take a vote to agree to that, to make sure it goes on the agenda for the next meeting. That what I have been informed is how it should be handled.
Understood. Any other comments?
Well,
what's the status?
then I make a motion to put it on. the
Nobody
agenda.
can make a motion that has not been on an agenda. That's just, it's procedurally, you cannot do it. I understand that you want it on the next agenda. I hear that. As soon as I get the answers back from the 3 divisions, I understand you guys disagree, but that's what we're gonna be doing. We can't vote on anything in this meeting anyways.
Can we know what the questions are so that if we have to?
Yeah, I want to find out how we can, if we can do, we need to talk to, I'm gonna talk to Eugene about the billing concept. It went from a sewage loan to a water loan. It suddenly in the finance committee meeting, I want to find out about that. We have, our budget is about $266,000 in the red, and we're proposing a $50 increase on water bills. I asked that the finance committee work on the resources for the residents who are on fixed income. I'd like to have a plan for all the residents from county, state, county, and township to know for those people who can't afford this. And I wanted to explore the options of looking into putting on the property tax as opposed to the water bill. Lastly, at the town hall, when we talked about all of the things that need funding, there's not just the water main project. Yes, that is absolutely the largest overseeing object, but there's roads issues. I wanted to see if we needed more finance for a building official, because that's no longer, because we're looking for more from a building official and expenses are higher. We have the ADA things that we want to do with the parks. And I wanted to get all of the numbers because ultimately, yes, I realize that water and sewage, stop shaking your head, just listen
No,
for a
I'm going to
second.
shake my head. and
I
I'm
wanted to
going
find out, I know water and sewage is an enterprise fund, but all of the money that we're gonna be asking from residents and increasing taxes is coming out of the singular same wallet. So the plan always has been,
President Bo, I have a question.
let me just finish for a second, please. I'm almost there. Is we get up to April with the appropriations, which has been delayed. We're in the budget talks with finance committee. From there, see what we can afford, what we can't afford. The idea then was to move forward to see if we could do a referendum in which we'd be putting on the larger water main projects and some of these. Originally, the water main of the 3 projects was only supposed to be a 6-year turnover, or 6-year thing of $50. At the last meeting, it was proposed that it was indefinite. I just want to check some of that stuff out and to see what we need to do in changing the ordinances and where that money can go and the legality of the referendum. And then also if there's another Hillcrest project that we can actually do together at the same time.
But you do realize that a referendum is going to take a couple of years to get that in place. And there's a school. board
I'm not saying that the
referendum
Guys, from the very beginning, Hillcrest has always been on. We've already voted it. It's breaking ground this year. Originally, it was 3 projects in 6 years. The referendum is for all the other stuff that we're gonna need to work on the water mains. We haven't been able to explore that yet because we've been focused on Hillcrest. This is why there are more questions. Hillcrest is still going forward. It has never been delayed. I just need to figure out what we're doing, what we're asking the residents to pony up for right now. I don't agree that it needs to be 50, and there's others that don't agree it needs to be 50. We think it can be less.
Actually, I think it should be 60, but that's my opinion.
Okay.
So here's my point. You have three things that you need to run a village. You need water, you need police and public safety, and you need public works. Now, I'm all for the other projects as well, and we can try to find those to fit them in. But those are the top three priorities. Now, you as a president need to set some priorities of what we're going to do. We can't do everything. There is no way we can do everything. We don't have that kind of cash. We're doing good to raise the water bill up, which we can't get done. It seems like it's taken way too long to do. So my opinion is we focus on those three things first, and then we look at some of the other projects. I'm all for different things in parks. I'm all for that. I'm all for the environment. But we have to look at what we need to do first.
Help me
If you
understand.
don't
how
have
5 months
water,
is taking too
if you
long.
don't have water, your house isn't worth a darn plug nickel.
I've never said we're not getting water.
But
Hillcrest
we
is,
keep putting it off, and all we're doing is jacking up our prices as they go along.
how have we put it off, Bill, or Steve?
It should have been
It
voted.
should have been voted on in February after it came out of finance and it was approved. It should
In
have been
5
voted
months,
in
we've gone
February.
from a 2% interest and a potential 5 years not even starting, down to potential starting in 2 years with a little bit less interest, to now we're breaking ground this year and we're doing it on borrowed on our own money.
If we keep putting it off, we're not gonna break ground this year.
Consensus in the minutes for the finance committee on January 8th were stated as such. By consensus, propose a $50 per month surcharge on the water bill to the board of trustees for infrastructure improvement in bold.
Yes.
Never acted on, never put on as an agenda item. Again, we just did it last Thursday. Minutes aren't approved. I understand that. That'll take until our April meeting. But in bold on that same April or January 8th, by consensus, recommend a $5,000 salary increase for full-time employees and look at IMRF pension during a referendum request. That happened. We have a committee that pushes up what we've done all of our homework on. It's been ignored.
It
Enough
has not been
is
ignored,
enough.
Bill.
No, exact to increase a $50
Okay.
on our water bill.
And even if. we-
It's time is of the essence on this.
And if we put it to a referendum and it gets voted down, then where does the money come from?
That we have no,
Now I'm gonna ask the residents for $75 a month.
right.
We only
Okay,
have
the
1,050 people to divide
The
this dollar
referendum,
bill.
the referendum and the Hillcrest are two separate things.
So is the.
But you wanna
thing
keep
of it.
tying them together.
Because I want to see the whole big project so we can see if there's extra stuff.
I don't wanna look at the other project. This is the number one priority for the village, water.
I want to look at the whole project to see if we can reduce the $50 a month fee.
Oh, I don't know how we can pull that off.
Every month, 2.5% inflation.
Right.
Or every year.
I have to. We have a committee of volunteers that are all experts at what they do. Giving their time, they make a unanimous vote. I think everybody around this table is in favor of this. And I feel like you're holding it back for a reason that I'm having a hard time justifying, because this is how we pay for it. Without paying interest out, this is how we pay for it. Referendums, all those other projects. I think it's great that we're putting together that spreadsheet, because it does line everything up, but I think this is outside of those projects on the spreadsheet.
And there's no guarantee of a referendum.
Yeah, not even think about the referendum, just
Right.
where the money's gonna come from and all the things that we wanna do. We need to know what those things are. But we've already had intelligent people vote unanimously that this is something we have to do. And now we just spent $8,000 fixing a water main again, so I think we
We're
gotta
gonna
move on
keep
this.
fixing the water mains. It's not gonna stop that. Just so you guys.
Well, this,
I'm just throwing, there's another $8,000 that we spent on Hillcrest that didn't go toward a long-term fix. And I'm sorry, but I don't understand your authority to say this isn't gonna get on, he can't make the motion to put it on the next agenda. And I mean, I don't know, I've got my rules of, but I don't know.
how
It's my
you can
understanding
say-
if there's a, it's my understanding if there's a consensus. Not a motion, but a consensus, so whatever you wanna call it, that it can be, the consensus is it. If we say vote on it, it can go on the agenda. It has to go on the agenda for the next board meeting. If there's a consensus that that is how it is.
If that's the rule, then, and Mark clarifies that, then absolutely. Also, as soon as I get responses back from some questions I have, we can move forward.
Not the you
I know,
can
I'm
go
saying-
ahead and do your question.
Yeah, I'm saying,
That's
let's
fine.
find out from
I'm
consensus.
talking a consensus. And how
I'm not
long,
aware of that rule. If that's the case, then sure.
that is the rule.
I'm asking, please clarify that that's the rule.
Well, I'm looking at Mr. Harney, who sat on this board for however long, and it's sorry to throw you under the bus. I normally wouldn't do that, but it's my understanding that if there is a consensus with the board, that it has to go on the next agenda. So you're fine with the questions you want to ask. But is it gonna take a week or 2 weeks for us to get an answer back from Mark Schuster? Because that's what it takes to get answers back on everything else. So I would like to know what the timetable is, or I'm sorry, Ed.
That's the reason I can't commit, but no, excuse me. As I said, I learned about some extra things. I'm sending an email out to Jeff and guys, let's keep it quiet in the audience, please. From Kyle, from Jeff, Eugene and I just spoke this afternoon and I've reached out to Mark. So if I can get the answers back in a day, I can confirm to you guys that it's on the agenda. If not, once I get those answers back, we'll get it on.
Well, I think the only answer that you need back to get this piece of it on the agenda, not the answers from Kyle or anybody else, but to get this on the agenda for the first meeting in April, that priority should be for Mark. And I would like an answer within a day or 2 at the most. That's all it should take. He should know from being on the village attorney for many, many years. He should be able to tell you an answer
About the consensus question?
to get it on the agenda. He should have no problem getting it. It shouldn't take a couple weeks. He should have an answer for you within a day or 2. And that's everything else, you're, just like everybody else. You can ask whatever questions you want, but this is specifically for the financing and getting it on the agenda for the next meeting. That's it. Separate from everything else, it should be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Any other comments?
My only comment is if you have the questions, if you wouldn't mind, send them to us so we can figure it out. And I'd be happy to look into, I know you have a concern about people that might not be able to afford it and does township have assistance? I'll take that as a to do. But I think if there's a series of questions, we should know what they are so we can keep moving this forward.
And Eugene did discuss, you brought up the water bill. He did state what could go on, how it could be worded on the water bill during the finance meeting. So that he's got that information. There's a question that you had that he could answer right now. He answered it for the finance committee members. So he could answer it. There's that question. And then the other questions that you have for Kyle and Jeff Steele and anyone else, that's separate from this finance piece of it.
Anything else on the finance report?
That's it.
Trustee Dialli, Police and Public Safety.
Just a couple things. We are continuing negotiations with the police union. Those are moving along well. We have another meeting coming up, not this week, but next week with them. So, more to come on that. I don't have anything else. Chief, I know has a couple things he needs to write on next week.
Back in November 2024, we signed a resolution to sign an agreement with the Illinois Emergency Services Management Association. And basically what that was it allows us to access resources across the state. There's no cost to the village. There's no commitment that we have to make. If they make a request of us for equipment, whether it's our ATVs or something like that, if we can't provide that equipment, there's no penalty for it. So there's really no downside to that agreement. It was explained to the board, a lot of the board members that are on here currently weren't here for that. But for some reason, it didn't get signed and sent through. So what I'm asking is that it gets signed so that I can put that paperwork through. The real important part for us is that King County OEM will not assist us with the 4th of July, which is 15 people that I can't fill if we don't have this agreement in place. Traffic direction, light bars, light trucks, all that stuff. So what I'm asking for is the board to allow us to sign this agreement so I can send it down so that we have access to all these resources statewide instead of just countywide. It's a good thing for the village.
And I checked in with Attorney Schuster on that because it was approved by the prior board about the proper procedure. Could we just sign it? Due to the inconsistency, he said we could sign it and submit it, but it could come back refused. We figured the better option is just bring it before you guys. So we've included all the language and the documents from the last time it came before the former board, as well as the resolution and the vote, just so you can kind of see you're not bound by that vote. But yeah, we'd like emergency services for the 4th of July. And there's no financial commitment, no obligation on the village. So
It's a win-win. It's definitely a win-win for the village.
Who has to sign it, chief?
Well, the mayor has to sign the agreement itself. It just has to be passed by board consensus and then the mayor signs it. There was some discussion back in November of 24 about like customizing the agreement and things like that. That's not allowed. It has to be, it's kind of like the agreement we signed with Elias, which is the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System. It's a canned agreement. They don't want 50 different agreements with 50 different villages. It is what it is. We can't adjust it. We can't change it. So there's no adjusting to it, just to clarify that.
thank you. Anything else, Trustee Diatley?
So do we need to make a motion on this or do we have? a
It's on the
consensus?
agenda. I think it's the last item
Okay.
C under new business.
Okay, good enough.
And then I do have one other thing. We've been talking about the mass notification system for the residents. We're kind of bringing that to the finish line now. We're unique because we don't have, not everybody's on water, but I don't want to bring up water, but not everybody's on water bills and things like that. So we don't have the ability to just get a master list of residents. So we're going to start pushing out information on residents being able to opt in. You can pick whether or not you want to have it go to a text, an email, direct phone call, things like that. So kind of keep an eye on that. I'll put stuff on our Facebook. We'll make sure it's on the village Facebook. I'll talk about it at whatever town halls. I'll say something at every board meeting about it. So the more word we can get out about it, the better off we'll be. But that'll get launched probably next month or so.
That's it, nothing further?
Thank you. Buildings and Environment, Trustee Schatzberger.
I've had, one resident reach out to me so far, regarding the, issues with, drainage. And so I'm gonna try to meet with them, possibly on Thursday, but they did send some pictures to give me kind of an idea of some of the issues that are happening in their yard, so I can, go and take a look for myself, and then I'll be able to determine whether it's, something that I can work with Kyle on and see if he has some expertise for me. But if it's in the front swale, then I'm gonna work with the resident on what they can do to rectify that situation. So that's all I have right now.
Building and Zoning, Trustee Thomas.
The couple things I did speak with in Eugene, I talked to Dan Straight from HLR, and he is putting some proposals together for us to look at. 3 different proposals for the building department. Hopefully we'll have that by the end of the week. So we can compare that with Carpentersville's proposal that they sent to us.
That was HILR?
I gotta look.
Okay.
I could,
I think it's HLR.
yeah, I think it's HLR. I'm dyslexic, so I get my letters mixed up. And then the other thing was, President Bowe, I brought to your attention, you said you've met with MetroNet. There was a resident that thought that they, their septic field that MetroNet, before the lovely snow we got, was, they went across their septic field. And they still, as of this morning, have not heard back from you, and that was a few weeks ago.
Oh, I spoke to their family the other day. So, okay, I'll reach out to them again. Yeah,
To May.
nice. I spoke to the family.
I know, I was there, I was standing right there. And they asked that you talk to Hans, and he has not heard from you.
Gotcha.
So if we could get that addressed and taken care of soon. Because once it melts, they're gonna be in the yard digging, and I don't want their septic field to get damaged.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have some other stuff, but that'll come on the new business stuff and with business.
All right. Old business, we have the continued discussion in motion tabled from the March 2nd meeting to approve the amendment to employment agreement of the village administrator. In light of recent conversation, you do have the option, if you'd like us to break to executive session, we certainly can do that. Thank you. All right. Are there any follow-up, or can I, so who moved on that the last time? Sorry.
I believe it was myself.
Statsberger and Tiatley, wasn't it?
I think I asked to table it.
Okay, can I get a motion to bring from the table the motion from the old meeting?
I have a note in my preparation that I think it should be discussed in an executive session. I don't think it would be right to have that conversation with a contract employee, just as we've had with some other contract employees. That I think it should be a discussion that we all have and come back.
I agree.
All right, can I have a motion to close to executive session for personnel section 2, section 2C1. And public official section 2C3. I'm not sure which one will fall under. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Kennelly, seconded by Thomas to close to executive session for the discussion of personnel or public official under 2C1 and 2C3 respectively. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All in favor, no opposed, motion passes. We can go over to the conference rooms there with Threaten Cold. We'll break at 8:44.
Is that now or would it
Yeah.
be done at the end of our meeting?
Now.
We're on the topic.
I thought others-
You don't think,
Sorry, folks, I thought we.
Would you like to wait till, would you like to? Well, we're in closed session right now. Okay, unless somebody wants to table to come back in. Or we just go discuss it.
let's just go discuss it quickly. It'll take us 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes.
We're not gonna talk about it.
So she should have consensus, not to wait any further.
Well, yeah, I didn't know.
So if you have 1,000 people that are being- And it goes through every community, voted on February, started collections in March. Probably like $50,000 a month.
That's really ever changed the voter.
We're already $50,000.
We're $100,000.
By the time she brings us back to the year, we have 100.
How much?
900.
I would say a million.
Yeah, 980 something thousand dollars. For the whole project.
Hey, we don't put that on the floor.
That juju,
No.
that juju. Not only.
No, don't put that. Second. Don't put it first on the floor.
So she wants to do a. Touch on the water. When Brenda hits all.
No, separate.
No, not the project, larger water. That's what she said. And she said, yeah, or put it on property. On property tax before.
And maybe get free.
Property tax, water bill. Don't ever do
Same way with the
Yeah.
plow. Oh, yes,
How's
yeah. He's doing good. He's doing good. You know, he's traveling. They have a second baby coming in July. And he's traveling and he's gone now 4 days. Next week he goes for 3, the following week he goes for 4 again. And well, because the business is such that what they're doing now, they're going out to get this. The business is coming to people.
You'll be in the minority. They create one of them because they have it on the process.
Another parent's girls is something that I mean, I don't know well.
So you'll get the safe card where you can be in line item.
It doesn't get fixed.
Rainwater, whatever, you know, they're gonna be there's not like.
February. June.
And I wanted to speak up and say. That issue could have been resolved in 5 minutes. Or you could put anybody.
It's expensive.
Trustee Diatley,
Here.
trustee Cannelli,
Here.
trustee Schatzberger.
Here.
Trustee Thomas.
Here.
Trustee Hoff.
Here.
All are returned. Thank you, folks. We have a quorum, so we're returning to old business 13A, the continued discussion and motion to approve the amendment to employment agreement of the village administrator, which I'm going to add on specifically, in which they're asking for an additional contribution being made to the 457 plan account to account for the health insurance changes. Do I have a motion? No.
So.
Second.
Moved by Kennelly, seconded by Thomas. And actually, sorry, let me back that up, folks. Yes, that was to approve the amendment to employment agreement of the village administrator, asking for the additional contributions for his 457 plan account in the amount of $340 a month or $8,160
$340 per paycheck.
per paycheck, or $8,160 per year. Do you still move? I have to have the dollar amounts in the motion.
Yes, so
Trustee Thomas, second.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or discussion?
I think you need to clarify that. It's 340 times 2.
He said per pay
Per,
session.
per paycheck.
But
There's 26 paychecks, 237 here.
but you're looking for $680, correct? For paycheck?
No,
No.
No.
We are only talking 340 for a year insurance.
340 per paycheck. 88.40.
Okay,
So is that correct? 840 per paycheck.
88.40. 88.40 per year, it's 340 per pay, per pay period.
Per pay period. Thank you. All right, we're all there. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Diatley,
Aye.
trustee Schatzberger.
I,
Trustee Hoff,
aye.
trustee Cannelli.
Aye.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
All in favor, no opposed, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. All right, we are back onto old business B, continued discussion and motion for the 2026 food vendor license. I understand trustee Thomas and I've been reviewing various ordinances around here, looking at the mobile food vendor versus the fixed food vendor. Are there any other contributions from the board members as to?
I would like to find out, because at the meeting 2 weeks ago, when I was out of town, you asked if what the board wanted to see, and we asked, you said you would write an ordinance for
Yes.
that, and we'd have it by that Friday, and
I have not gotten that to you
received
guys.
anything.
We got something from Pingree Grove, another thing from St. Charles. And honestly, we've been busy with the village business. We haven't been able to accrue that. I have met with Maggie and Dan to discuss some of the things I didn't understand. And then I spoke with trustee Thomas and she said she was reviewing some of the ordinances around here.
The only thing you said was that you met with them. I did not know, and I know nothing else.
I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said. I was just talking.
You said that you discussed with me, but nothing's been discussed with me. You just let me know that you met with them. I have not met with them at all. So I don't know what has been discussed with them.
So I thought I was talking about you looking at ordinances. Okay. So reviewing the St. Charles one and the Pingree Grove, there were a number of questions that I thought needed more discussion from everybody with respect to getting an idea of whether it's the idea that it was a mobile food vending ordinance that we had before. And if the fact that they weren't being mobile and moving, if that was the issue, that you wanted them to move, or was the inconsistency with the ordinance if we had a fixed location food vending ordinance? My understanding from some of the trustees is it had more to do with that it was inconsistent and incompatible with what we'd agreed to last time. So that's what started bringing up the fixed location food vendor ordinances, which one of our residents sent me one from Pingree Grove, which looked very encouraging. And then upon reviewing the St. Charles one and seeing the ordinance component, I then reached out to Attorney Schuster to see, he had written in that memo, and trustee Thomas had brought up before, that when we started out with the temporary pilot program last end of fall, there was an idea that we could do it as a licensing for temporary, but if we wanted something more permanent, we should create an ordinance. Which by default, I assumed needed a public hearing at the time. But I was talking about it with with Attorney Schuster. If we change the zoning, it would need a public hearing, but at the moment. Most of what I'm seeing in this doesn't necessarily require a change in zoning, so it may not need to go for a public hearing. Additionally, I asked him, considering that we are still looking for a building official, and it could be a matter of a month or two to get that finalized, maybe a contract. If we did need somebody to oversee this. We're at March now, if we have somebody hired.
I was gonna say, I have a couple questions.
I do too.
Okay.
I have questions. Sorry to
Oh, no,
interrupt,
go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
I have not received the Pingree Grove one, so if I could get a copy of that.
It's on their website, yeah.
Okay, but it was sent to you from a resident. I would like a copy of it because I'm going through all these. I received something from Pete Vernon. I've received East Dundee's. I've talked to West Dundee's. West Dundee, who they don't allow it at all. I've received Carpentersville, so I'm trying to compare everything in the St. Charles one that they offered up. I'm trying to compare everything. And then it sounds like you've been looking at Pingree Groves, but I don't have that to look at. So I would like a copy of that. And if you want me just to go to their website, then that's what I'll do. But you're also talking about zoning. That area is zoned residential. And all of those lots are zoned residential, 1700 Verlo, 1712, 1714, and 1716. So this has been since like 1963. Nothing's been updated since 2008. So I think before we allow this to continue, we need to look at the zoning for all of this. Furthermore, that parking lot is not a restaurant and food truck is not an allowable permitted use, and that was confirmed through the Kane County GIS and through Carpentersville. I kind of leaned on them. So it's not an allowable use. Now, yes, a nursery was on there, as was brought to my attention for 10 years. But that was something that was put up. It also was not permitted, but that was in the past administration. I can't question them. I can't ask them. I'm not saying that what they did was wrong. That was their decision. But going forward, I think we need to fix what's wrong before we allow this to go on that parking lot. And we need to fix the Verlo issue because they are a business on a residential lot. So we need to address, I think those are issues we need to address first of all. And then, like I said, I am not against the Orlandos. I know that is a misconception. I'm not against their business. I want it to succeed, but I want it done right for the village. It can't just be for that family, for that business. It has to be for the entire village, what's best for the village. So these ordinances that are being, drafted, it has to be for the entire village, not just for them. And, the other question, I have, and I don't even know if I can ask this right now is, where is their kitchen that they're cooking? Because originally they were cooking from they were using the kitchen at Blue Root, which has been shut down since. So I don't even know if that's a question I can ask now because I know because of what you said, but I just want to do what's right for the village, not anything else. And with that being said, I know that their permit goes till the end of March, but I do not feel it should be extended past March until we get many of these issues taken care of. And I don't, I know you've been having meetings with them. As planning and zoning, I would have liked to have been included in those meetings, and I was not. And I think there's a misconception from them that they think I'm against them and their business. That is the farthest from the truth. I want them to succeed. I want, but we cannot set a precedence. If another family comes in and says they need help with a business, we won't be able to turn them down. if we continue going down this path and not doing things the right way. So
I have a
go ahead.
couple concerns, and this is just what I call common sense. Okay, I'm not trying to penalize the business at all. I want to work with business. I want to keep them in business. I personally, the Orlandos have done everything we've asked them to do. We asked them to get permits from the county. We asked them to have health inspections. They did all that. This is just the village not having our ducks in a row.
I'm sorry.
Okay, this is the village not having our ducks in a row. Okay, so I would like to think that we should work with them and say, we will extend your thing. Because why should we penalize the business? They've done nothing wrong. Extend their permit through October or in the end of the year or whatever. And then we have to get these ordinances done right. If we're gonna have two of them for a moving food truck and a this, it's gonna take a while. And I don't feel it's fair to the business if we're just gonna kick them out and say you're done at the end of March because it's something we screwed up and couldn't handle internally. That's my opinion.
But they came to us as a mobile food truck. That's what was presented to us, and that's how I voted. And it is not a mobile food truck. They have set up smokers. They've set up basically a restaurant and tables and a tarp and all that. And I have nothing against that, but it was not presented that way. And I don't agree with how I think that if we keep extending it, it's only gonna set a precedence until we get everything else straightened out. And I don't think we should do that because it's not right, good for the village. That's,
So are we at the point of you drafting an ordinance that we review? And then perhaps with what we do know of what happened since they first opened to where we are now, those items get addressed after reviewing the ordinance?
Sorry, you were saying at the point where right now is where I'm drafting the ordinance, taking into consideration the concerns that have been raised, and then we go from there. Is that summarizing correctly?
Yes, I think so, but we're gonna get an ordinance that you're gonna create in advance of the meeting that we can look through. And then if there's things that anybody on the board has concerns about, that's the time to address that. Or are you expecting that you'll create an ordinance that we vote yes or no?
Okay. My understanding, I was trying to get it to you guys before this meeting, in reviewing St. Charles and Pingree. And that's what I was getting at with reviewing the ordinance component and seeing the zoning component. Sorry, I wanted to explain that for a second. This is why I wasn't sure where we were. I checked in with Attorney Schuster to see if this had to go through P and Z and zoning. And also raised concerns about if we do allow this, will that perpetuate any kind of liability or issues for the village with respect to the Gall property? I also was considering that I know there's been a lot of issues. I wanted, well, actually really like the way Kelly's saying this, I do want to do what's right and what's best for the village. So we're making sure that everything's covered. I think we wrote everything. We wrote what we knew the best we could last time. Issues have come up and I think we can modify it, come up with two different ordinances. It is a larger project than I anticipated going into it. And having guidance from P and Z would be helpful. A building official, zoning official, somebody more familiar with it would be helpful. Or sitting down and collaborating with Trustee Thomas on what she's collected at this time, but.
I really quick too. So with the King County Health Department also, if it's a standalone unit as it is, what are the ordinances? What are the ordinances from the King County Health Department? Because if it's permanent structure, temporary permanent structure, there needs to be bathrooms and stuff like that as well. So would the health department provide a license or permit for it to be in a permanent location?
My understanding at this time is theirs does not rise to the level of permanence, so it does not require a bathroom. It's not a restaurant, so it doesn't require the hand washing. It does, no, not the hand washing. That was for market thing. Sorry, one second. Here it is. So certain levels of county health department has to do with if they need fire extinguishers or fuel suppression for cooking. They only have electric, no gas. Per county, they have to bring in their own water and remove all their own water, as well as their refuse. My understanding is they're meeting health department. If there's an issue that you think that they're not meeting it, it needs to be reported to the
No,
county.
I'm just wondering if, because it's not moving, there's two different types of ordinances with the health department. One for a mobile
Standalone.
truck and
Mhm.
one for a standalone. So there's two different health code,
That would have to be, honestly, we have to ask the county if they're in violation or if it's,
Well, they've approved them as a mobile food truck, not as a standalone.
okay,
So, and that's two different things.
right. That,
But I still go back to my thing. I understand the concerns. I do. I understand they're valid concerns. I still go back to say it's not fair to give them 2 weeks and say you're done and you're out of here. I think it should be extended to give them some time because this isn't their screw up. This is our screw up.
I don't,
An issue that I'll throw out there as well is, the owner of Verlo can't get an updated sign because he's not on a commercial piece of property.
correct.
So he's 2 iterations behind where Verlo's current trademark name should be, and he's getting pressure from his franchisor.
And that's why,
And we can't allow it for him, but we allow a hybrid trailer, permanent structure, whatever, to put a sign on a trailer
Mhm.
advertising. God bless him, but I think we've done him a disservice in even allowing that to happen in the first place. It needs to be right. He needs to find the right location, because here we are struggling with the
right,
zoning doesn't match what he's trying to do. And it doesn't even match for all those other businesses that are on that property.
but that's why
Right,
we need to do, that's the first step, is to get the zoning right, especially for Verlo. Because we're holding him back and
And he's been a business for how long?
right, a long time,
They
and,
have-
and the fact that the parking lot does not allow this use. It's not a permitted use in the parking lot,
under residential is what you're saying.
correct?
The
A lot
crux,
of
the
issues.
crux of the Gall property has been rough. 38 years ago, it was annexed, forcibly annexed. And it was unincorporated, so when it was forcibly annexed, it was assigned residential to the village. At that time, I think 88. It was assigned to the Sleepy Hollow clerk who designate the proper zoning. And it just never was. Even before that, it was mixed use. Tucker's had been there, the grocery store where Verlo is had always been there, so. I appreciate that it is zoned residential. It has always been mixed with commercial. Our goal, and for 20-some years, it's been no movement has been able to move forward on that. Our goal is to get it zoned up with and bring it up to conformance. And part of that is getting the driveway done, allowing them to do signs, work on the siding, move forward with that, and
But if we keep allowing other things to go there without getting those things, other
We're
things
allowed-
taken
so-
care of.
we're allowing permits within the village to occur, food truck permits to occur on private property with the owner's consent and public property where we approve. This was a private property that the owner has offered to the food truck. And one of the things we discussed at the beginning is we weren't sure about wanting food trucks being allowed near residential or private, but at least in this instance, it is allowed, or it is not a traditional residential in the village proper. It's over past a highway. So that was one of the thoughts, that it wasn't that disruptive. I'm inclined to, I like trustee Diatley's idea. I mean, obviously you guys probably assumed that. This seems bigger than being able to get this together, and I'd like us to do it right, as trustee Thomas said. She and I could collaborate on this, come together with some more ideas, then bring it to the board for you guys to discuss and not scrutinize, but like go through critically 2 different ordinances, a fixed
Wanna
and a
do it
mobile,
right.
a fixed and a mobile. And darn it, you just threw me off. I forgot what my last sentence was. I like trustee Diatley's idea about, seeing about giving them extension. But
But how often are we gonna continue to do that before we get this done? I mean, that's the thing, it seems to take a long time to get certain things done. And not, everybody's got a lot on their plate, I get it. But if we continue to extend and extend and extend until we get our ducks in a row, you're right.
Yeah.
Shame on us. And I don't think that we aren't, they came to us with a St. Charles, food truck ordinance. Okay, well, I'm not trying to be mean or nasty or anything, but if they have a St. Charles, why are they not there? Or why are they not in Pingree Grove? And I
because
understand.
they love, I mean, my understanding
I-
is they want to be here in Sleepy
Okay,
Hollow.
and that's fine, but I think we need to do it the right way before we do anything else, because if we keep extending without getting these other items fixed, we're doing, it's not gonna be right for the village, because in that time, somebody else could come in and say they wanna go start a business with something. And we can't say no. We cannot say no. So, and we have to start somewhere, and we have to start saying no till we get this right and get it right for everybody within the village and any other business that wants to come in here.
One second, please. I fully appreciate that, trustee Thomas. My issue is, and this goes back to what trustee Diatley said. They have adhered to all of the criteria we set forth in the permit last time. I get that there are some things that we now, in hindsight, realize we want maybe to be different. But that, I think, is on us. They followed every rule we set. Again, it's not what you envisioned, but again, they're not violating anything. It's a resident here who has a business here. It's beneficial to both the village and to them if we can work with them.
So let me just ask this, we approved a mobile food truck permit, correct, or ordinance?
We approved a mobile food vendor or licensing ordinance.
Okay. And to me, they are not mobile.
I understand.
They
that.
are stationary, and so if they want to, then fine, I'm fine. If they want to,
I think we're splitting
Stay.
hairs with definitions here. It's like,
Well,
it's like the river, it's like
That's what-
riverboat gambling that's anchored permanently on the water.
but then
It
it
doesn't
should
move
be,
that place in
they,
woods.
they have to
Oh, I
move it
agree.
then,
I understand.
and they have to,
Nothing against it.
there's no, it's not against them.
Then let's
But
probably
we are-
create the ordinance that actually.
I understand that, but they were approved for this, a mobile food vendor. Then they need to be mobile. And they shouldn't be setting up tables, they shouldn't be, everything
But
should be done separately.
Well, then we need to write better ordinances because it says you're allowed to have tables. They had to be temporary, they couldn't be permanently installed. It defined a mobile food vendor as a truck, a cart, a trailer, something that can be pulled. But it doesn't say that, and actually, we specifically said you cannot be driving around the village to sell your wares. You needed to be in a set location, stopped in order to sell. We need to write more and be better on our ordinances. But the fact that they aren't doing,
I put myself in the business's standpoint. If I've got a permit and I know I have to renew it, but I've done nothing wrong, and now you're gonna tell me in 2 weeks I gotta move my business? I'm not gonna be real friendly to the village. I will be, myself, I wouldn't be. If I owned the business and you came to me and said, you have to move your business in 2 weeks and that's it, and I said, what did we do wrong? And you're gonna say nothing.
and the problem is we
So-
really should not be creating an ordinance for a specific family or a specific group. The thing is, what has risen out of this is we realized we were interested in food trucks before. There was the whole ice cream truck debacle from before where, the board didn't like Joy or kids. Then there was brought up the issue of food trucks for the festival. So we started looking into that. And I think what we found from this is there are two very clear, distinct impressions of what a food truck is. And with the layout of Sleepy Hollow being what it is, it's possible that maybe we need to do two ordinances. Let's give them this, I mean, they didn't even have a full season last year. It started in
say
September.
My thing would be you extend them one more time.
I'd like to make a suggestion. I kind of agree that I don't want. this to reflect poorly on the board because of things that we didn't anticipate or we didn't expect that have turned out. So also, I feel bad for a company that's been paying a sales tax for a long time in Verlo. And I don't want, why can't we do some things with making this issue with Damo? Maybe we point out some things that we would like to see changed. And at the same time, how do we advance Verlo's need to change their sign?
Correct.
At the same time, maybe do more than, and kind of work our way to something, but I don't think we should just shut them off right now. Let's see if we can get some changes implemented and also help Verlo move along.
I want to say we have to put a pin in the Verlo because it's not technically pertinent, but I hear what you're saying, so yes, thank you.
Agenda
Um. Does anybody want to make a motion? Or are we still just talking?
What's the motion?
I'll make a motion that we extend their permit through the end of October.
No,
Do I have an extent, something on that? Do I have a
Gotta
different
have a second to
proposal?
discuss it, guys. Come on.
All right, but then I would second it for discussion.
All right,
We already had the discussion, but
Well, we have.
so my
but, yeah.
discussion would be, I would go along with that. I think October is too far and it would be with the caveat that we have to be able to address changes. Some of the more. Some changes.
I'm open to
that we
that.
want to bring.
Yeah, I would
bring
be
their
open to that.
attention,
Like I
that
said,
they would like to, that they can meet within a certain number of months. I
So
think October's.
what would you throw out?
So how about just throwing something out? The things that I'm thinking about aren't gonna be really difficult to change, so I would say. The end of May,
What did you say?
end of May,
so 2 months.
there, yeah.
We're going right into the start of the season, but
but it's 2 more months. It gives them 2 more months.
These are, the things that we're thinking about aren't huge. issues.
I think they're way bigger than that. You gotta change the zoning on that property. And there's people out there that don't appreciate what we're doing as a board.
Well, I don't wanna.
And I'm listening to them and we're perpetuating incorrect zoning for all those other businesses that are there as well.
Correct.
So,
Get it right.
okay, so
Get it
let me
right.
ask the question then. I'll play devil's advocate then. Are you gonna go in and shut the other ones down in 2 months?
Well.
If you're gonna shut one down, you gotta shut them all down. I mean, that's
all
what
this
they're
come
going
into
to
the
do. I'm not
village
for that,
and-
but
and
that's what they're
discuss
looking at.
that with you.
sorry.
I don't know, Gall has come into this village and discussed it with you and Eugene and Mark Schuster. What was his plan?
He wants to pave the driveway, work on the siding and the signs.
Does he want to change the zoning? Because that's the issue.
I mean, that's always been the interest is to change the zoning. We're trying to figure out mixed versus PUD versus specific commercial and residential.
Well, why aren't we moving on?
We've been busy, Bill.
Well, you got all these other things that really can't come together unless we get that right.
Correct.
Too many years have gone by. We've never gotten it right. Now is the time.
Thank you.
Michael.
I would like to make a comment.
Mhm.
We have gone right back into doing what we're not supposed to do. We're focusing on a particular business instead of an ordinance. Let's talk strictly about the ordinance. And not refer to the business, to a particular business.
Well, that's why I suggested we see the ordinance so that we can.
So I would be,
Doesn't the
Not a-
zoning trump an ordinance that's being conducted on that property?
2 different issues.
Wow.
Two different.
We can write an
the
ordinance.
issue- The issue is a mobile food vendor anywhere in the village. We're not talking about one particular business in one particular location. This is a discussion, is supposed to be a discussion about a mobile food vendor that can go anywhere in the village. Once we have an ordinance that talks about what the limitations are for food vendors, then we apply that to a particular situation.
I haven't seen an ordinance yet.
So that's what we need.
I don't think you can vote on anything until we see the ordinance.
Right,
We were talking about voting on an extension while we're working on the ordinance.
I think it's the first things first.
no, because, well, there, we have,
Now you're talking about an individual business. We're talking about an ordinance.
No, we have on the books that has expired a temporary ordinance. And so what we're talking about doing is extending a temporary ordinance, okay? That is not applicable to just one business, it's applicable to anyone who applies.
Have we seen the copy?
That has already been passed.
Yes, it was the one we had for last year and we just extended January.
So what would happen is that we would continue. The motion would be to continue the temporary ordinance until whatever date is decided on. Then the application by any particular business would apply under that extension. Then we work on an actual ordinance that would supersede the temporary ordinance. Once that is in place, then there would be an application by a particular business for the mobile food vendor. And if they do not comply with the new ordinance, then we remove the license
Okay,
or not issue a license.
let me ask you this. So, okay, so that's that piece of it. What about the zoning? I know that is totally separate than the food vendor. ordinance.
Exactly. So, but we're not talking zoning, we're talking a temporary food license extension right now.
That's the other thing on the table, right?
That's the only thing we're talking about. The zoning issues come up when we deal with the actual ordinance.
To me, we're doing it backwards, but that's just my own opinion. I agree with what you're saying. But I think that we need to, I would be okay to extend it till the end of May. But I feel that we need to get this zoning piece of it taken care of as well.
I agree.
And that should be a priority.
So at that point, what we can do is handle two separate issues. Extend the temporary ordinance, okay? Then request the planning and zoning to look at the zoning component of it.
Okay, so even though Carpentersville has said that that is not a permitted use on that parking lot, any business is on the parking lot.
Right.
That's not permitted use. We're going to allow it. I'm just asking.
Right. So, but
I'm just asking.
that's a separate event. At this point, all we're talking about is whether we're gonna issue the license or not. So once we have a license that's issued, then we can make a discussion on, are we going to allow them to continue to operate on that property?
Okay.
So this is for any food vendor coming
Any
into
food
the
vendor,
into the
yes.
village that wants to
Yes,
sell food. That are going to extend it to the end of May.
if we wanted to have Rhonda's tacos, you know, she could apply for a mobile food vendor permit under the temporary status
In the village of
in the
Sleepy.
villages until.
In your front yard, too. Which is zone residential.
Well,
Well, we
because
do-
we allowed them to come to block parties.
Yeah, we did, so we don't just, that's part of the thing with the zoning is, it was, we noticed in the St. Charles one, and I think South Elgin was another one from an earlier email. Some of them are determined by their zoning areas as to what's allowed and the duration of how long they're allowed. Based on zoning, we wrote ours based on private property and public property, and with respect to the service club. Private property, we allowed, as long as you have the consent of the property owner. It was no more than 2 trucks, and I think we said, 2 trucks, and then 5 trucks for a public property.
Okay.
But I mean, and we have learned, saying stuff on private property with the purpose of block parties may be different, so maybe it should be broken down by zoning versus private versus public, so these are all things we can address and scrutinize in the ordinance. Currently, my records, I had an extension from Diatley and Kennelly, and this is where I got confused. I know you had said end of October, but you had said end of May.
Mhm.
Was there a consensus from both of you for the
I'd
May,
be-
or are we
I'd-
still
I'd
waiting
be
on a
okay with
motion?
the May.
I'm sorry?
I'd be okay with the May if we work on it, yeah.
All right, so I have a motion from trustee Diatley and trustee Kennelly to extend the mobile food licensing 2026 to the end of May, the temporary one, to end of May. Is there any? I wasn't moving it to the vote. I was just trying to make sure I knew where we were on that, so we can keep discussing. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Trustee Schatzberger,
Aye.
trustee Thomas,
No,
trustee Hoff,
No.
trustee Cannelly,
Aye.
trustee Diatley.
Aye.
3 affirmative, 2 negative, motion passes. Thank you, folks. We'll have. Moving on to new business. Item A, discussion and motion to amend the 2026 Sleepy Hollow Village Board regular board meeting schedule, changing the second meetings in April, July, and October to town hall meetings. I want to get this on. I discussed it at the last meeting. We have a couple options. I didn't discuss, I broached it and said, please let me know if you had any pushback on it after the first town halls. There's 2 approaches we could do to this. If you guys are still, I didn't hear any negative responses.
when was this discussed?
I mentioned it in the president's report saying I was interested in doing these after the town hall as the second meeting of those months.
Are we open for discussion now? Or do
Oh,
we
sure.
need to
Yeah,
motion?
I did. Sure.
The only thing I would ask is I have no problem with it. The only thing I would ask is maybe if we are more focused and talk on certain topics, that way we get more information on those topics. Otherwise, you get the shotgun approach and you get 50 different things. So maybe one time it's police and public safety, maybe one time it's roads and parks or something like that. So it can be more focused, which is probably a better use of time.
But this is
Actually-
taking place of a board meeting?
So that's what I was trying to get to. There's 2 approaches we could do with this. Either A, we could change the meeting strictly to a town hall meeting and forego the board meeting. It'd be in lieu of it. Or we just have the regular board
You can't
meeting.
do that.
You
I
can't change,
don't think we're allowed to.
we aren't allowed to change that.
I think the ordinance states you have to have 2 board meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I spoke to the attorney and we would be doing an amendment. If we wanted to do this, it'd be an amendment. So that's,
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the town hall should be completely separate
Separate.
from a board meeting. And I don't think it should be on the same day as a board meeting.
Correct.
all right. Why was that necessary? Okay, so there's no motion to amend the board meeting schedule. Is that what I'm getting from you guys?
Yes.
Correct.
Right. I didn't hear anything, so I thought I was moving forward, that's why I was on. All right, item B, discussion and motion to approve the hiring of Alexander, K, for the full-time public works maintenance position.
Upset.
Gotcha.
Okay, cup check, yeah, so, yeah, I'm looking for board approval to hire Alex. At $24 an hour, he comes in with a CDL Class B and some landscaping experience. He's a really nice young man, and he lives about 6 minutes away. And it's perfect for what I'm looking for.
Does he have a herbicide certification?
He does not.
What was the question?
I asked if he had his herbicide certification. I know that Tyler had that, so it's just.
And this
Those
is-
those will be options that he can, yeah.
Can I have a motion from does anybody like to move to approve the hiring?
So moved.
Second,
Moved by Schatzberger, seconded by trustee Thomas. Comments, questions, and discussion.
and this is to replace Tyler.
Yes,
Okay.
And he can start when?
next Monday.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Hawk,
Aye.
trustee Connolly.
Aye.
Trustee Diatley.
Aye.
Trustee Schatzberger.
Aye.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
All in favor, no opposed, motion passes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And item C, discussion and motion to approve, and I'm sorry for the typo, it's just resolution number blank. That was the original resolution. A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement for participation by the village in the Illinois Emergency Management Mutual Aid System. And that's what Chief was speaking about earlier during the police and public safety reports. Yes. May I have a motion?
So move Diatley.
Second.
Moved by Diatley, seconded by Schatzberger. Comments, questions, discussion from the board? Oh, I think I heard you second. Oh.
He's close.
I proximity. All right, thank you for giving that up to Canelli. Let the record reflect. Any discussion, folks? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Thomas.
Aye.
Trustee Schatzberger.
Aye.
Trustee Hawk.
Aye.
Trustee Diatley.
Aye.
Trustee Connolly.
Aye.
All in favor, no opposed, motion passes.
I have a question on something else. I don't know, it's not on the agenda, but I don't even know if I'm allowed to ask this. It has to do with 1601 and the invoice that was gonna be paid. Has that been settled?
We have negotiated a settlement. We have not gotten the check yet. But we have
Okay,
negotiated a
so
settlement.
are any further discussions gonna be going on until we get that check? I know that it's been negotiated, but I don't think that until we get payment for that, I don't feel that we should be engaging. in
There's
any
no
discussion.
substantive action being taken at this point.
Okay, because I'm just
Yeah.
a little concerned because that was, the permitted use was removed from that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
are they aware that
Yeah.
that still has to go through again?
Yes.
And because that was all part of which, you even voted on, you gave the tie breaker for that. And it was removed from the code, and so with no chance of it coming back, and so I want to know kind of where.
We didn't expressly exclude it. We removed it as a permitted use so that we always knew that it could come back with a special use hearing. And as soon as they came in, we explained like we really weren't expecting anybody ever to come in.
But it would have to come
Hang on a
back
second.
as a
The
similar,
people that had contacted Eugene had asked if we allowed for special use permit or special use self-service storage units, in which he said we've removed it from our special use. That ended that call. James has had a history here that I even asked him, like, are you sure you want to, like, why would you want to do this? And they knew the procedure and that they'd have to go through an extra hearing just to get through the special use component.
to get it added back
Back
into the
Yes.
ordinance.
Yes.
And when we talked to the attorney, and it can actually all be done at the same public hearing, that you can have it put back on, and then they can have their proposal, their plan at the same meeting.
So when we asked to either have it prohibited, which would have eliminated it ever coming back.
There's no such thing as an elimination. You can always, even if we said exclude it, we can always.
You can always bring it back.
There's no such thing as a forever exclusion.
Except prohibited.
Anything further?
No.
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Second.
moved by Diatley, seconded by Schatzberger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All in favor, no opposed, motion for adjourned at 9:45.